All right.
All right, starting the timer.
I'm ready.
Okay.
Let's do it, baby.
That's our new mug?
That's our new mug.
Nice.
Yeah. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Two Nods podcast. I'm your host, Joe DiNizio, and I'm joined by my co-host, Dominic Lampasona.
How we doing?
We hope you all enjoy the holidays, and we want to wish everyone tuning in a happy new year. We are kicking off the new year with a very special episode. I'm going to ask my co-host to take it from here and introduce today's guest and sponsor.
Yeah, so today's guest is Ashdin Billimoria.
Ooh, nice job. First time.
There we go. Our sponsor is Strive2Move. He is a physical therapist and chiropractor for Strive2Move. I came in around January.
I think it was January of last year.
Yeah. So, I came in with like a little bit of like a back issue, just was always tight and everything, and they brought me in and basically wrote a program and everything like that. And ever since then, man, I mean, I'm feeling good.
Yeah, man, you're pretty consistent throughout COVID, telehealth. So we really appreciate you being a good patient for us.
Yeah. I'm always excited to go in.
Yeah, it's always a good conversation with us. I always look forward to when you come in. We always talk about movies, sports. It's always a good time.
Yeah, you get to touch me a little bit.
Yeah,
but,
I like touching. That's the main part of my job. I get to touch people. So I get to use my hands mainly. So it's nice. I can really put my hands without people freaking out.
You feel useful.
Yeah, about time. I mean, my wife doesn't think I'm useful. So at least some people do.
That's great. All right. So, just real quick, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, where'd you grow up, and any background in sports. Things
Yeah,
like that.
for sure. So first of all, thanks for having me, guys.
Of course.
I know we've been trying to get this scheduled for a while, so really pumped to do this. So, like Dom said, I am a chiropractor. My name is Ashdin Billimoria. I'm originally from another country called Florida, right in the panhandle of Pensacola, Florida. I went to undergrad at the University of South Florida, where I got my bachelor's degree in health sciences, which honestly, that degree is kind of bullshit. It really does, you have to go to grad school for it. There's nothing else you can do with it. So from there, I went to Logan University in St. Louis, which if you ever asked if I would live in the Midwest, never thought I would, but it was a great experience. So I went to Logan University, got my doctorate in chiropractic, my master's in sports science and rehabilitation. And then from there, I moved to South Florida, Boca Raton for 4 months to do my internship with NFL Combine training.
Oh, wow.
And then I moved up here, and the rest is history.
Nice.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that. You were involved in that.
Yeah, so I was very fortunate to have that experience. So the chiropractor that I did my chiropractic internship was the medical doctor for this huge sports performance gym, XPE Sports, shout out. And so they do NFL Combine training from January to March. So luckily with my master's degree, I had to do an internship. And it was cool because I could kill two birds with one stone. So I was able to do NFL Combine training. I was able to help the athletes with their rehab programs. I was able to do some manual therapy on them. But also, I was able to hang out with all the speed coaches and the trainers so I could really understand how to bridge the gap between rehab and performance, which I have a huge interest in.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so from there, I came up here. And I never thought I'd live in New Jersey, but we're loving it. Yeah, here I am.
So did you always have a passion or curiosity in sports medicine, or was it something you developed along the way?
You know, it's a good question. I always knew I wanted to work with athletes. So going into school, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna work with athletes. I'm gonna work with athletes like everyone, but that's just usually not how it works out. But I knew I wanted to do something in health. I just didn't know what. So when I went to undergrad, I was like, I'm gonna be a physical therapist. I wanted to be a physical therapist. But after seeing what PT schools wanted, it was just like, and shadowing PTs was like, this might not be the right route for me. So when I started shadowing chiropractors, I was like, chiropractors and PTs, if you put them in the same room, I always say, if PT and a chiropractor, you shouldn't be able to tell the difference but what they do.
Right.
Following the evidence. So I guess you can say I've always had a passion for sports and rehab, but it sort of evolved as I got into chiropractic school more when I really understood what goes into it.
Yeah. Okay. What is, stress the importance of taking care of your body, both athletes and people who live a day-to-day life?
Yeah, it's a good question. I always think move every day. You want to get some sort of movement into your life. It's like I say, you go to the dentist, get a checkup, right?
Right.
People should come see a chiropractor or PT on a wellness plan, maybe once a month, to really stress the importance of healthy joints, get some sort of movement. And I really feel the passion for showing people what they can do for themselves, because ideally I don't want people in my treatment room for the rest of their life. Yeah. I want them to understand, what's going on and how they can help themselves.
Yeah.
Good?
That's awesome. Just because I know being an athlete and just, going to school and everything like that, it wasn't until I learned how to take care of my body is when I really started to enjoy playing the sport even more.
Sure.
You know what I mean? There was times where, you know, my shoulder would click or things like that when I would throw, and I'd be like, well, what's going on? Like, why is this, you know, painful? What is going on here? And when I visited my first chiropractor at school, she had a hard time with me. Like, she couldn't, like, crack me into place necessarily.
Sure.
I don't know why. Maybe it's because she wasn't getting paid. She was volunteering, so she just didn't really care.
She's like, screw you.
But then I actually went to another chiropractor. It was like through our school and things like that, but I had paid for it through my insurance.
Sure.
And I remember the first time I was adjusted, it was unbelievable. Like, just the way I was able to move afterwards was just like nothing I've ever experienced before. And I'm sure you can attest to that too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, again, this is the first time I really been consistent with a physical therapist and chiropractor.
For sure.
And I wish I did it even back to when, you know, I started playing college ball, even high school. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I knew nothing about taking care of your body and maintenance and stuff like that. And then my strength and conditioning coach in college was, I started pulling my hamstrings, having a bunch of injuries, and he's like, you gotta, you know, you have a build to where you can't just like go on the field and like that. Like, you have a more of a developed build, stockier build, so things are just gonna naturally pull. So you have to kind of, you know, do more maintenance. And it's funny because it's like I got more into, you know, going to you guys and taking care of my body once I got into more, you know, fitness bodybuilding style compared to when I was you know, an athlete type of thing.
Yeah,
you know?
it's interesting because I had no idea what chiropractic was when I went to chiropractic school. Like, I shadowed maybe 1 to 2 chiropractors, and I was lucky to be in a good class where like-minded individuals that didn't just want to lay you down, crack you on your back, and send you out the door, or smack you on your ass and push you out. Like, really, you know, it's a triage of care of adjusting, manual therapy, and rehab. And like, that's the 3 pillars that I try to stress when people come in.
Right.
But yeah, if you asked me 10 years ago if I was going to be a chiropractor, I'd have been not a fucking chance.
Right.
Not at all.
Kind of piggybacking on what you said about maintenance, when do you think athletes should start maintenance on their bodies? When they're young, in their teens, when they're in college?
Yeah, I think it just depends. It really depends on the sport, you know, the type of athlete. Are they an elite athlete? Are they a weekday warrior? Or it just depends on what they're looking for. I don't think necessarily everyone needs a sort of maintenance plan, like to come in every now and then. But I think there needs to be some sort of plan if they're trying to reach a certain goal. So you just want to match the treatment to the goal, and you go from there.
Right. Right. Yeah, because I know like some people, especially, you know, going through college and everything like that, they prioritize their recovery and they don't necessarily need to go to a chiropractor or a physical therapist. But there are times where I had this one buddy of mine who prioritized, he had his own stim machine and all that stuff like that. He would stretch every day. But there was this one time where he had pulled a muscle in his lower back and he had to go to a physical therapist. So sometimes just one of those things where it just happens, like you don't even know.
Yeah, and I think where people get lost is they think like the only thing they need is like, you know, foam rolling, stim, ice, and heat. And that's all passive. And really what's going to put you over the top is any sort of active care, like pushing you towards an active plan. But people kind of get lost and they think like, okay, I'm only going to do foam rolling, ice, and heat, and that's it.
Yeah.
But for like an elite athlete, that's nowhere near enough for them.
Right, right. Okay, so moving on into a little bit more of your personal experience, I want to talk about what ultimately led you down the path into sports medicine and physical therapy, a specific incident or a click moment. Yeah,
I think it was, so growing up, I played competitive soccer, travel all throughout up into high school. And so when I got to USF, I was going to be in the athletic training program. I was like, I'm going to be an athletic trainer. This is great. I can be on the sidelines. But then I was like, I can graduate quicker with the health sciences degree. I'm gonna do that instead, because I knew eventually I was gonna go to some sort of grad school.
Right.
So it was there when I was doing health sciences, and I was looking at, I was like, well, I can't do shit with this, so I need to further my education. And so I started shadowing a bunch of physical therapists down in Tampa. And I always felt like I was like in the way. I never really had a great experience, and that's not a testament to physical therapy at all. Maybe it was just the physical therapists that I shadowed. So I never really had a great experience. And so then when I started applying to PT school, I was like, they're asking for a lot of stuff that I didn't have. So I was just getting nervous to be like, well, how long is it gonna be before I actually get to PT school? And then once I get to PT school, it's gonna be that much longer. So when I talked to my advisor, I was like, you can graduate quicker with health sciences. And then it's funny, I was originally gonna do at Logan my master's degree. That's it. I wasn't even gonna do chiropractic. I was like, I'm doing my online master's degree and I'm gonna go to PT school. And then I remember I shadowed two sports chiropractors in Tampa. And then I found, I compared them. I was like, well, they're doing the same shit that this PT was doing, but a little bit better.
Right.
And it was very patient-centered. They took the time to explain to the patient what was going on, what they have going on, what they're gonna do about it, and how they're gonna help. And I was like, I really like that. I really enjoyed it. So I was like, screw it. I applied for chiropractic school, I got in, and I was able to do my master's in chiropractic degree at the same time. So I was like, it's a win-win.
Yeah.
So I think it was that moment where I decided that I wasn't gonna do athletic training, and then everything just started snowballing from there.
All right, so moving on. How many years of schooling did you have to take to seize your degree? And were there times where the workload seemed overwhelming or near impossible?
Holy shit. Yeah, okay, so undergrad was 4 years, so traditional, and then chiropractic was 3.5. So I started in January of 2016, and I graduated April of 2019. And yeah, sometimes it seemed like I was not gonna pass. Like, you can ask my wife, I would come home and be like, I failed this test. And I didn't fail it, but I would be like upset that I thought I did because the workload was just, I always say chiropractic school is easy to get into. I think they should up the standards, but once you're in, it's fucking hard. Like, you're taking over 30 hours in 4 months. So you go by trimesters, January to, like 3 times a year.
Right.
And the workload, like, it's anatomy, neuroanatomy, PT, biochemistry. So all these classes that in undergrad you could just have one, but now you have like 5 to 6 hard classes. At one point you got to figure out, okay, I'm gonna fail this test just so I can pass this test. It's like, I just need to pass the class, and that's it. So it's like, I'm gonna fail this test, and I'm just gonna try to study for this test. Right. So at times, yeah, to answer your question, the workload, my first year, I probably lost a lot of weight. I did not work out. I was not healthy. I tell Dom this, I started chiro school at like 130 pounds. I finished at like 180. So it was a nice upward trajectory for me, like a good upward trajectory. But yeah, but like I said earlier, it was nice because, you know, you didn't feel alone. Like I have found a good group of buddies that we were in it together. So we were able to study, we were able to piggyback off each other. I was good in one subject, my buddy was good in another. So we were able to tutor each other if we didn't understand a certain aspect of a class. But yeah, I would say that first year, if you get through the first 1 through 3 trimesters, you can get through the whole program. You can prove to yourself that you can do that, because the first year is the hardest, then you should be fine after that.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. The reason why I ask about workload is because when I went to college, I went in as an exercise science major. And I was only gonna do my undergrad. And I remember that first year, the workload being difficult, you know, especially in our like biology classes that we had to take, and it was tough. Long story short, I ended up transferring out to the business program after that, because I was like, you know what, if I'm only taking my undergrad for this, I don't know how much money I'd make after college. I'll be a strength coach. I don't even know. I
think it was, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I think it was like, you had to figure out how you study, how you take notes. I remember it was my start of my second year at chiropractic school, and I finally figured out the best way I learned, because our teacher gave us a quiz, and I found out that was an audio learner. So I just, instead of just like trying to take as many notes as I could in the class, I just hit record on my iPad, and then I would go back after class and just listen to it and rewrite my notes.
Oh, that's smart.
And I found that way helped me absorb the material like so much better. And I was actually understanding it as opposed to just remembering it to pass the test, which is horrible. And
then I had a friend my junior year. He was our roommate, and I remember it was like 3 of us in one room. And I remember there were nights, because he was an exercise science major, and his sophomore year he had a class, anatomy and physiology, and he had to know a lot of stuff. I won't go into it because I don't know too much about it, but I remember there were nights where me and my one other roommate would try and go to sleep, and he'd be at his desk, lights on, studying until 3 a.m., 4 a.m. I'm like, oh my God, like, God bless you.
I figured out quickly that, you know, I figured out quickly, like, I couldn't pull all-nighters like I did in undergrad. Like, that was just, at one point I was like 11, 12, 1, and I was like, all right, I'm fucking done. If I don't know it by now, I'm not gonna do it in like 6 hours. Like, screw it.
So yeah, I mean, how did you manage to get through those times though? Like, what was like in your head? What was going through it? You know what I mean?
Getting out of my head was the first step. Yeah, it's like, you can do this. Oh, you didn't have a choice. Hey, I was like, I'm racking up debt like fucking crazy, so I better fucking pass. I don't know. I just try to take it semester by semester, I guess, and just, it would get to the end of the semester, and I would start, all my friends would do this. We would look at all of our grades and start calculating what we need on the final exams. Like, all right, if I get a 60, I'll get a 75 in this class. If I get a 55 in this exam, I know I'm gonna get an 80. So like, you just kind of pick and choose your battles.
Right.
And then, yeah, and you just know like some classes you pick up quicker.
Right.
So you know you don't have to spend a lot of time studying that class.
That's so crazy.
And the other classes that were bullshit that they make you take,
right.
You just kind of like piss off on those classes and like just cram the night before.
Yeah, yeah.
Because they do give you a lot of classes, and we'll get into the butt class in a little bit.
Please.
Which is a bullshit class, but we'll get into that one. Yeah, but yeah, you just kind of pick and choose your battles on which class matters more. Like obviously biomechanics for me is going to matter more than the butt class, or chiropractic philosophy, which fuck that. I think biomechanics and anatomy I'm gonna spend more time studying that than philosophy and chiropractic because I don't give a shit about that.
Right, right. So I mean, you know, we've talked a lot about this butt class. Let's get into it.
Please,
a little bit.
Okay, so hold on, let me take a swig.
Sure.
He's like, yeah, I got a story about a butt class. We're together yesterday morning. He was like, please just save it for tomorrow.
I've always told Dom about the anatomy lab with the cadavers, which I know we'll get into. But I told him yesterday, I was like, did I tell you about the butt class? And he's like, no, but do now. So every chiropractic school has their own technique, like that they're founded upon. Right. So without getting into a long story, so Logan was founded on what's called Logan Basic Technique. So Logan's the only school that will put this class in their curriculum.
Right.
And so it was trimester 1, we just learned the history about it. And then it was the summer of my second year, we started the class. So essentially, I saw all my classmates' asses, full ass, on a table, hiked up, ass in the air. And essentially you just have to touch the butt. I won't go into the mechanics behind it or the philosophy behind it, but literally, here's the crack. My thumb is right near the crack, pushing on what's called the sacrotuberous ligament. And I'm just sitting like, first time I pulled my friend's pants down, I'm just start laughing. And I couldn't help myself. Like, what else am I supposed to do? Like, this my friend's hairy ass in my face.
Right.
And I'm like, what am I supposed to do with that other than laugh?
Yeah.
So we did that for 2 semesters. And I can guarantee none of my friends even remotely use that technique. I couldn't tell you. I don't even remember the assessment of it. I just tried to get through the class as fast as I could. But I did tell you I had to shit every time after that class because it gives you like what's called a sympathetic response, where you push in and it causes you to like sweat, and you just had to shit every time after that class. But yeah.
So when someone's constipated, just go and grab their ass.
Well, that's what the technique is really used for babies who are constipated.
Oh, okay.
And you kind of like, that's why you leave it there.
Right.
But people will do it on adults, and like I don't do it. But like, yeah, you literally just Dom, if you want, man, we'll do it next Friday if you want. I'll hike you up on that table, drop your pants, and
I'll bring some tequila.
Yeah, there you go.
And some cigarettes after.
Something to bite down on. That's what you need.
That's a party.
Yeah. I remember my wife, when I would tell her what I was doing with that class, she just starts laughing. She's like, "What do you mean?" And I was like, "Do you want me to try it?" And she's like, "No, I don't." But we had a good group, so we would always talk about it, and then they would always get an understanding of what it was, and everyone just walked away like, "Okay, you're just putting your finger up someone's butt." I'm like, "Pretty much, yeah."
Right.
You're close. I mean, you're like in there.
Nice.
And I remember my teacher came around and was like, "You got to drive that thumb harder in that ass." I'm like, you shouldn't say that to a girl, first of all, that's doing this on a guy.
Right.
And it's this old, creepy teacher. And yeah, I'm really glad I don't have to take that class anymore, guys. Like, holy shit. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, my friends aren't going to believe this. Like, when I go home and tell my buddies back home, like, what I'm doing in this class.
Right.
They're like,
You just got to take a picture close up.
Yeah, that would be fucking great. Yeah.
No, we don't believe you. Yeah, you're not in a butt class.
No
Here you
way.
go. Oh, really? Check
Trust
this
me,
out. Okay, so about the butt class, that's interesting.
Check
butt
that
class.
one off the box.
Yeah. So you mentioned cadavers. So let's
Yeah.
talk a little bit about your work with cadavers, and then also can you explain what a cadaver is to the people who may not know?
Sure. So luckily, I think very fortunate that families are willing to donate their bodies of their family deceased for science. Like, I think it's very awesome, very grateful for that. And it's awesome because, so again, trimesters 1 through 3, our class had the same group of bodies. So we rotate through these bodies. And then at the end of our first year, so at the end of 2016, there's a service at Logan where they invite the families, they cremate the bodies, and they give them something so as a thank you for it. So it's really respectful and nice.
Oh, that's nice.
But so then, yeah, so it's trimester 1, go right into the cadaver lab, and that's how we learned anatomy. So we had the lecture, and then it was nice because you could apply it through the dissection. So we had to dissect the human body. So semester 1 was back, legs, lower extremities and arm. And we'll get into this one. Trimester 2 was neck and above. And that's the fun one we'll get into. And then trimester 3 was all organs. So, you know, once a week we'd have anatomy lab where whatever we're learning in the lecture, we would apply it to the body. So we'd have to dissect, and then we'd have pro sections and lab practicals just to help us get a visual of actually what's going on instead of just looking at a book.
Right.
All the bodies smell like formaldehyde. And I was telling Dom this. Formaldehyde has something that makes you hungry. So you can only imagine being in a cadaver lab for 2.5 hours and then going to fucking house your lunch afterwards. Because you're fucking starving.
Right.
And you're starving. But yeah, so I told Dom this story one time. It was trimester 1. We were cutting some back fat, some subcutaneous fat off the skin. And I was doing with the scissors, like kind of just opening it up. And a piece flicked up into my friend's mouth. And he started like spitting it up. And he's like, what the fuck? I'm like, what do you mean, what the fuck? Why do you have your mouth fucking open?
Right.
Like,
you don't wear masks or anything?
No masks. You just kind of close your mouth. People would chew gum too, I remember, which is just gross because now you're getting the formaldehyde in your mouth.
Right.
I was like, dude, close your fucking mouth. Like, why would you have it open when you're like staring over the back trying to cut it open?
Right.
That was funny. And then this was, have you guys ever seen Dexter?
Yeah.
Okay, so it was in trimester 2, we were going through the cranial cavity.
Oh my God.
So what we did was we took like a handheld table saw.
Yeah.
And cut the head open this way so the head would split open like this.
Yeah.
And I just felt, I enjoyed it. Like, I don't know if this is sick and sadistic, got my inner Dexter on, but I thoroughly enjoyed like going through the cranial cavity with a table saw. I don't know if that's fucking weird, but
I mean,
it was a good dissection. It was fun.
Well, so I told you about my cousin that went to med school and everything, and I didn't know what a cadaver was.
Right.
So my aunt, they're up from Florida, and she's like, "Oh, look, check out this picture of Nick." It's like around like Christmas, we're eating like Christmas cookies and stuff. So yeah, check out the picture of Nick with the cadaver. I'm like, "Oh, all right." I go over, and it's just this head that's like peeled this way, and I was like,
"Did you almost pass out?"
All right. Oh yeah, I think I almost threw up. I'm like, I'm never gonna get that image out of my head.
We had a girl pass out day 1. Just don't blame her. I remember I held a human heart, which was awesome, a brain, which was great. I'm just like, my buddy's like, here, take the heart, and I'm just holding it. And then it was also fun in the lab. I was telling Dom, like, we had buckets. So like if you didn't want to look at the bodies, you just had buckets of hands, buckets of feet, buckets of arms, heads.
Psychos.
Yeah, like just like you could pull
serial
a head out
killers.
and just, like hold it.
Imagine walking into that room not knowing what's going on.
Well, it's like you'd walk into one of those like morgues. Like you literally walk in, there's tables lined up in rows. And with bodies that are covered. Yeah, it was, I mean, I'm grateful they donated them, but it was a fun experience. But again, I just remember those anatomy labs were fucking brutal. Like, just everything looks the fucking same. Like, piece of meat and like something in between it. And a little poke thing. It's like, all right, identify this structure. It's like, what the fuck are you poking? There's like 5 structures. Not to mention, we thought our anatomy teacher would always bring the same mug into class, 8 a.m. in the morning, and we're like, all right, Gillum is definitely drinking something. Like, there's no way he's drinking coffee.
Right.
For sure. All right, is there anything else you want to talk about? Any other funny stories you have for us?
No. What else you guys got for me?
Just the rest is now talking about Strive2Move.
For sure.
Explain what it is, how it came to be.
Yeah. So I knew, so like I said, when I was in chiro school, I was fortunate to be with a group of like-minded individuals that practice similar the way we do at Strive2Move, like very evidence-based, meaning follow the research, very promoting active care, active rehab, not just wanting to sit you down, adjust you, and send you out the way. So my buddies, 2 of my buddies were head of a club called Rehab True Performance. They were the leaders of the club for their respective time at school. So I was very fortunate that I was able to go to the club, and they were the leaders of that. My other friend was a president of what's called Motion Palpation Institute, which was another just like-minded individuals. So from there, it's nice because like I wasn't the smartest one, which is awesome. Like I love surrounding myself with people that are smarter than me because that's the only way I'm going to learn. So everyone else was smarter than me, which is great. So I knew coming out of school and after my internship, which was pretty like, it was a high-level practice, high-level master's, I knew like I was going to be very specific with the job that I was looking for. Like I did not want any job, any just simple chiropractic office. Like it wasn't going to happen for me. So I remember I was shuttling up to Jupiter. I went on an interview 7 times at this one place. And every time I left it, my wife Sherry was like, how did it go? I'm like, well, it went fine. They want me to come back. She's like, again? I'm like, yeah, they want me to come back. But in my heart and gut, I was like, this place is just not for me. But it was the only interviews that I had at the time. So I was like, something's better than nothing.
Right.
So from there, I found Strive2Move on a like-minded chiropractic website called Forward Thinking Chiropractic Alliance, which is a Facebook group for like-minded chiropractors that want to push the profession forward. So when I saw Justin's ad, it was like, do you value, I remember the ad specifically, do you value manual therapy, rehab, and active care? I'm like, yes, yes, yes. And then I read down, I was like, the people that we kind of model our treatment after are very similar people that I've tried to study and read up on. I was like, okay, yes, 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 check the box. And then it was like, last one, I was like, we don't babysit people with E-stim or laser. We rather hand them a kettlebell and teach them how to kettlebell swing. I'm like, oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
And so I remember I saw and I looked it up and I was like, Warren, New Jersey? I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
And you were still down in Florida?
Yeah, I was still down in Boca, and I was like, Warren, New Jersey. So I texted Sherry, I was like, hey, I think I found a job. It's in New Jersey. So we looked it up because my wife grew up in Long Island, how close it was to her family. Right. I'm like, okay, this is doable. This is nice. Because I always told her I would look for jobs in the Northeast if I found the right opportunity so we could live closer to her family for a little while.
Right.
So rest is history. I sent Justin an email with my resume, called me back that day, sent me some questions. I answered. We did a FaceTime call interview. He flew me up here and then hired me on the spot. And so I took it, obviously. Yeah. Not knowing anything about New Jersey, not knowing, what the practice entailed, which is way more than I thought.
Right.
But I don't regret it at all.
Yeah.
And I always told my wife, we were like, Jersey was going to be temporary. We were always going to go back to Florida until a couple weeks ago she got a new job. That's a tenured position in South Brunswick. So now we're staying.
Yeah.
So, because I've always taken her from jobs just because we moved from Tampa to St. Louis, from St. Louis to Boca, and then she had a job in Boca that she just got. And I'm like, we're moving again. And she's like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. I'm not. But good news, we're moving closer to your family. So she was totally supportive. Couldn't have done school without her.
Yeah.
And then, I found Strive2Move, and I've been there since May of 2019. So coming up on 2 years down in May. It goes by quick.
That's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. What was your first impression? Have you been to Jersey before that, or
never in my life, dude.
So what was your first impression of it?
Honestly, I don't remember. I remember when I flew into Newark, and I was driving to GFP, Gabriel Fitness and Performance, for one of our offices in Berkeley Heights. I'm just looking around. I'm like, all right, kind of rural, not bad. And then I always liked it because, through the year I started liking it because we hike a lot with both of our dogs. So it's like it's easy to get up into the Northeast for hiking. Yeah. You have the beach and you have the city. So once I started understanding these three things, I was like, well, why are we going to move? We actually like it here.
Yeah.
So there's no reason for us to pick up and move again.
Yeah, and they also say Jersey's one of the best places to raise a family as well.
Yeah, so. I think so. I think after being here for almost 2 years, because every time we would say we're going to go back to Florida, it was that part of you, that gut feeling like, well, it just doesn't, why? Like, why move again? Like, we like it here, so like, why pick up and move?
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't have much of an opinion because I was only here for like 2 days, and that's it. And then I left, and then we moved up here, and then I just started forming my opinion as we lived here.
Yeah.
So it was interesting because we didn't spend much time before we moved.
Right. So talking a little bit more about your future plans, what is the next steps for you in terms of your career?
It's interesting because I constantly go back and forth in my head, like, what is it that I actually want? First of all, I really like where I work right now. Right. Like, I've gotten to the point where Justin has taken a step back from seeing patients, so I see all the patients.
Yeah.
So he's trusted me enough to where he can take a step back to try to grow the business instead of seeing patients.
Right.
So where I see all the patients. So he's always told me, the good thing about Justin is he always stresses, like, you can grow in your position here. Like, you're not stuck at Strive2Move, and I'm not just an associate chiropractor. Like, I'm the lead clinician at Strive2Move. Like, I can grow. So I always go back and forth, like, in my head, like, am I going to stay at Strive2Move? Can I open my own practice with Justin helping me? So to answer your question, I'm still undecided about what is it that I truly want, but I know it's one of the two. I'm either going to stay at Strive2Move for the long haul, or I'm going to try to open my own with Strive2Move helping me with our systems.
Right. So, this might be a tough one for you to answer, but where do you see yourself within the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, it's a loaded question. Thank you, Joe.
Of course.
I didn't expect that one. I think I'll be working still with Strive2Move as like the lead clinician because we are trying to build something big, like a huge clinic throughout New Jersey, whether that's I have my own clinic with our systems, or I'm still working with Strive2Move as like the lead clinician here. But yeah, that's a loaded question.
Definitely a loaded question. Yeah, I mean, even personally too, like where do you see yourself 5 to 10 years? Family?
Oh yeah, man. Definitely. My wife and we've been talking about having kids within the next year or two, so we definitely want
popping them out.
Yeah, dude, just pop them right out. 3 in a row. I joked. I was like, I hope we have twins. That way we could just, because we want 3.
Yeah.
I could just have twins and then 1 more. Like, boom, we're done. Like, we're done, baby.
Right.
And I always joke, like, watch we have fucking triplets and then.
Yeah.
That's great. That's like the worst case scenario, but kind of the best case. So we don't have to. I don't have to deal with her being pregnant 3 different times. I can just do 1 solid shoot. And boom, we're done. But yeah, man, we want a family.
Nice.
We're definitely looking to get a house within the next 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah, get another dog. We have 2 dogs right now, so we'll definitely get another dog.
Nice. That's what kind of dogs do you have?
So they're called Carolina dogs. They look like little dingoes.
Okay.
I got my buddy named Mo, so we adopted him my first month of grad school. Probably not the best choice, but certainly the best choice. So probably not the right choice then, but it turned out to be the best choice. Like, he's my first dog. So we named him Mo after Missouri. Nice. And then we got Cola right before we moved up here. We named her after Pensacola. I just sliced it in half. But yeah, man, we're staying for Jersey for the long haul.
Cool.
Sherry starts her job in 2 weeks in South Brunswick.
Nice.
So we're here for the long haul. So family, house, kids, you know, the American dream in air quotes, if that still exists. If that still fucking exists.
That's awesome, man. All right, well, I think that's all we have for today's episode.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Ashdin, we want to thank you for coming on today's episode and wish nothing but the best of luck for you in your future.
Yeah, man, I really appreciate you guys having me, and if you guys ever want me back on again, I'd love to come on.
Right, absolutely. Right. Please be sure to check out Strive2Move over at their websites or Instagram. It's a new year, and the Studiots have a bunch of content in the works for the beginning of 2021. Please be sure to check out Strive2Move over at their website and their Instagram. It's a new year, and the Studiots have a bunch of content in the works for the beginning of 2021.
Oh, yeah.
Please make sure to like and subscribe and follow the Studiots podcast on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And as always, tuning off,
signing off,
stopping off.
See ya.
See ya.